Hey guys, hope you all had an amazing Christmas. As promised, I've made a quick video on my earnings so far, what results I've got after a few weeks of mapping with my Hivemapper dashcam. I'm going to show you exactly how much money I've earned per kilometer and in total over the few weeks. And I'm also going to break down the earnings of 21 other drivers and compare them to the results that I found, hopefully being able to give you a better idea into what you might earn as well. Someone requested the other day that I make a video on how to buy and sell honey tokens on a exchange, and I'll do that in the next few days. And I'm also going to make some videos on stuff like how to maximize your earnings from your Hivemapper dashcam when you get it, potential strategies to consider for either selling or holding onto the tokens, which one of those is going to be best in the long run. As ever, if you want to stay updated with what's going on in Hivemapper and other similar projects, hit that subscribe button below. You'll get a notification every time I bring out a new video. So let's have a look at my earnings so far. Before I go into it really quickly, I just wanted to reiterate a point that I made the other day. So not every kilometer you drive in your car with a camera on is mapped. This is something the team's working really hard to optimize so that close to 100% as possible of kilometers driven will be mapped. But for now, I wanted to demonstrate here. So I think at the moment, I'm the only person mapping in this region in the UK. There's someone else a little bit further north, but this is all me. So my parents live around the Colchester region. I drove from London to Colchester and back, and there's a big old gap here in the middle that hasn't actually been mapped. So actually earnings should be increased once they sort these problems out. But let's jump into how much I've earned so far. So this is the most simple version. Over the course of 2 weeks, I mapped 78 kilometers. Just as a bit of an experiment, I earned 2,047 honey. That means that's about 26.2 honey per kilometer. At the moment, the price of honey is about $0.07. So you can just Google honey token price. The token's live, it's on exchanges, you can trade it. As I said, I'll make a video on that soon. But it's about 0.07. It was 0.08 a minute ago. It's just gone down to 0.061. It's jumping up and down very quickly with every trade. Again, I will make a video on why the price is so volatile at the moment and why it will stabilize in the long term. But at the moment, let's call it 0.07. So a total of 2,047 honey earned, times that by $0.07 per honey, and that's $143.29 in total, which really isn't bad at all over the course of 2 weeks. It's really quite good on the surface, and that works out at $1.84 per kilometer mapped. So I was really happy with these results. I wasn't happy with the amount of my journey that was mapped, but for what I got paid, I think this is really good. So how does this compare to other drivers? Well, what I did is I've been looking at the Hivemapper Explorer. You go hivemapper.com Explorer. I'll leave a link in the notes. And you can go to the contributors section and you can see all of the contributors, how long ago they joined and when they were last seen online. And what you can do is when you click on a contributor, it will show you how many kilometers they've covered and how much honey they've earned. So each contributor has a 3-word name. It's to keep everyone anonymous. What I did is just take 21 of these drivers, hover my mouse over to look through week by week how the tokens changed based on how many kilometers they were driving each week. And I plugged it into a spreadsheet that looks something like this. In fact, it looked exactly like this because this is the spreadsheet that I used. And we can compare the totals of all of that data that I pulled against my earnings. Now, the first thing to note, which really confused me when I was looking at the data initially, is that I've broken it down week by week. For the first 3 weeks, as total kilometers mapped went up, total honey earned and therefore total earnings also went up. However, for the last 2 weeks of the sample data that I took, so the 12th and the 19th of December, although people were still mapping, they weren't earning any honey tokens, which looked really weird on the surface. What I then later came to discover, because I was mapping during this period, they were the 2 weeks that I was mapping, is that whilst the total amount of kilometers mapped showed up, the amount of honey tokens did not show up, and I mean in the Explorer. So if you look, for example, tokens earned stays the same here, 1,999 between these weeks, whereas the amount of coverage was going up. This is nothing to be concerned about. This is basically an error as far as I can see in the Hivemapper Explorer, because my coverage also was going up in Explorer, but my earnings also reflected as 0. And I can confirm that I definitely did get the honey into my wallet. It's just not reflecting yet within the Explorer. You've got to remember that we're still super early in this project. I think the team's released a minimum viable product, which is really good and does work well. It's just, this is an example of another one of those bugs that in the next weeks and months, they will be fixing. So what we can see is based on basically a 3-week, essentially, sample set, we've got amongst those 21 drivers, if we take the averages and compare them to what I found, we have average earnings per driver over the 3 weeks was $91. Again, really not bad at all. The average honey per kilometer was 9.38 versus 26.24 that I got. And then the average dollar per kilometer mapped was $0.66 compared to my 1.84. So you might be asking, why am I getting so much higher than everyone else? So I was driving almost exclusively in London, which is a boosted area. So in the UK, drivers in London and Manchester, as I mentioned in my previous video, get paid more honey per kilometer than in other areas. In different countries around the world, the main capitals, basically, they're also considered boosted regions, so people get paid more. So I'm imagining within the sample set of 21, a lot of them, or most people, were not in boosted regions. In fact, if you divide my average earnings per kilometer by 3, you get 0.61, which is very close to 0.66. So we could conclude from this that boosted regions get 3 times the amount of honey per kilometer than other regions. This is just an assumption I'm making. I haven't checked this with the team or anything, so don't take my word for it. I'm just telling you what I'm observing from the numbers that I pulled up. So just a few final observations to finish off the video with. It's going to get a lot easier over time to get a lot more accurate picture than I've got here as the Explorer becomes more and more up-to-date and accurate, which I'm sure it will do over time. It's also totally possible that I've misinterpreted some of the data from Explorer, so please don't hold me to any of these figures. All I can really tell you with 100% certainty is my earnings in terms of honey compared to how many kilometers I've driven. And look, these initial results, they do look super, super promising, but we're going to have to take a bigger data set over a longer period of time to actually get an accurate idea of what we're going to earn in the long run. Keep in mind that the price of honey is super volatile. There's not a lot of liquidity for it at the moment, so it will continue to be quite volatile in the coming months, but hopefully will stabilize at some point. And also, please bear in mind that the Hivemapper team has been really, really clear from day one that this should be an addition to your monthly income. You shouldn't go out mapping with the sole purpose of making money. It should be treated just as an additional income for the driving you're already doing. That's it for the video today, guys. Please remember, none of this is financial advice. I'm just letting you know my observations and my experiences so far, and I'll see you in the next video.